Alright, so I don't know what happened, but the YouTube app crashed, or maybe it just went, I don't know, maybe I touched the button and it just hid, but I got cut off there. So, yeah. Still, she kept going, every hesitant step bringing her closer to her goal. She could already tell something was different the more she followed her familiar. The air smelled different, the water sounded louder, and the trees whispered to her as if echoing what the water was trying to say to her.
Give me that ball again. Give me.
But in a long forgotten language that no one alive would be able to recognize or understand. There was a quiet sense of wonder to it all, and she felt touched on a spiritual level. It was like the forest appreciated her kinship with it all these years. She found a knot of trees where that mysterious glow had been. She stopped walking when she saw it and gasped when midnight took her by surprise, landing on her shoulder and nibbling her ear affectionately. What she had taken for a cluster of fireflies was in fact a ball of light that glimmered on its own, even when she didn't aim her flashlight at it. It had apparently been waiting for her. At least she figured it had, as it started floating away when she did fix her light on it. Midnight gave her shoulder a gentle squeeze, as if encouraging her. This was obviously the right way to proceed. She followed the will-o'-the-wisp. Darkness fell like a silent curtain, and something about the scent of the air changed again. She wondered if that meant that rain was coming soon. She used to lay on the floor of her tent and listen to the droplets fall while reading poetry she had composed for the crow, who would chirp appreciatively when she was done. There's no one out there, Wicket. Or maybe it was Shirley. After 10 more minutes, she came across a shaded growth that she had never seen before. The will-o'-the-wisp settled in the center of the clearing, and here Scarlet found a gently bubbling spring of water. She had forgotten all about her backpack in her haste to follow the bird, and the orb that had guided her this far. Now the straps were starting to cut into her shoulders. She took it off and eagerly approached the spring, ready to cup her hands and drink some of the water. She startled when she saw something out of the corner of her eye. The figure was human-shaped, but it wasn't like any person she had ever seen. The newcomer was translucent, like liquid glass, with an unearthly sheen reflected across its torso. Scarlet supposed that this was the light coming from the wisp providing it. Scarlet supposed this was the light coming from the wisp providing a dim light. As the figure came closer, she realized that this being shimmered with every step, splashing and spraying. It was made entirely of water, but bipedal, bipedal, and walked upright instead of dissolving into a puddle round her well-worn hiking boots. "Welcome, Scarlet," said the watery figure. "You've been expected." In all fairness, I was beginning to despair you would never find us here. "Who are you, and how do you know my name?" Scarlet tried to keep the tremble out of her voice, but failed. "Forgive me, where are my manners? My name is Ludi, and I am a naiad. I am also your father, that you never knew." This staggered Scarlet, who took an involuntary step back. "But how is that possible? You're—" "A water being, yes," Ludi replied. "I can manifest a fully human form, as human as you are, for when the need arises. Your mother and her sisters showed me kindness. When I lay wounded on the side of a cliff, they found me. Well, uh, well, wounded on the side of a cliff they found, while exploring these woods nearly 20 years ago. There are many nature spirits who've taken sanctuary here. They are under my protection now, and have been, but The magic binding me to this plane is fading. If I don't return to the underneath by dawn's early light, I fear I will cease to be. That is why your pet crow and the wisps brought you here tonight. Though they are spirits of the air, I have an affinity with them, and they with I in turn. Scarlet was speechless. She had read books with these sorts of plots growing up. She didn't care how silly they were. She devoured them all the same. Now it was her reality, and she didn't know what to say. You are a woman grown now, and it is your responsibility to speak for the spirits that have found this forest to be a haven for them. Come, drink from this spring. It is known, as it has been in ages past, as the wellspring of immortality. Will it make me an immortal? No, my darling. No being can live forever, though all feel the passage of time in different ways. It will instead give you the clarity and wisdom you need to take up your newfound responsibility. Knowledge is the one thing that can withstand the ravages of time. Will it hurt when I drink the water? Your mind will merely expand, and it is an experience beyond which there are no words for, in this tongue or any other. Will it make me more like you? She asked, unable to contain herself. Less human and more magical? No, child, you carry more of your mother in you, from since before you were born, when the waters of life saw fit to fashion you into a vessel. Does this mean I'll have superpowers? In a way, yes. What can I do? What should I do? All in good time, my child. Scarlet stepped forward, cupped her hands, and drank from the wellspring. At first she didn't feel any different. A few moments later, though, and she felt the blood pounding in her ears as they never had before. She felt refreshed and hydrated, even though her mouth had been dry from fear this whole time. She had found it hard to talk, and she was astonished to discover that she could speak with Ludi without the urge to run away screaming as fast as she could. Her eyes, which had been a clear blue, turned a vivid forest green instead. She heard new voices in her head, and that whispering she heard earlier became clear all of a sudden. She turned her head and saw Midnight smiling at her. It's about damn time, he said. Now then, there is one more thing you should know, Ludi said, drawing Scarlet's attention back to himself. There are several tribes of spirits bound to the places you know, or the ones you think you know. Are you familiar with the nearby cities that your people call Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse? Yes, I'm going to college in Rochester soon, Scarlet answered. The Bison tribe protects Buffalo, the Hawk tribe protects Rochester, and the Goat tribe protects Syracuse. The Mountain tribe protects these hills and woodlands, including the patch of land where you live. Have you ever wondered why your little encampment has never been disturbed? Now that she thought about it, Scarlet wasn't surprised anymore. It all made sense. But there's another tribe you need to know about. We call them a tribe, but we have no other words to describe them. They are invasive outlanders from another plane of existence that we know little about and have no recourse with which to resist them except for the combined will of our magical power. We have begun to call these interlopers the Root tribe, for although roots stand strong, they also creep into places where they do not belong and seek to take over. Sounds familiar, Scarlet muttered. Ludi stepped forward. He held out a stone to her in his palm. You'll need this, he said. What is it? Something that'll help you prove who you are. Every tribe has their protector. I don't have the strength to call them together for a conclave. You'll need to seek them out and gain their trust. That is the only way to accomplish your mission. You'll have the easiest time with the guardian of the mountain tribe, though. Midnight rustled his wings. Come on, Scar. It's time to go. You know, when I wrote this, I imagined Midnight to have an Irish brogue or a Scottish accent, something that he would sound like Colin O'Donoghue, but too little, too late. Scarlet turned to her pet, but was reluctant to leave. I, I have so many questions. Ludi stepped closer and caressed her face with a sad smile on his transparent face. You'll have to ask your mother. Then he snapped his fingers. Scarlet woke up in her own bed, in her room. The sun was rising as she sat up, confused and out of breath. The door opened, and Autumn walked in with a grimace on her face. So, about your dad. And that's where it ends, on a cliffhanger, because I never pushed it any further. So, yeah, that's all for today. Bye-bye.